Today we'll be talking about what to do when we feel completely overwhelmed and stressed out so we can stop suffering and move forward in our life. Stick around. Welcome back. My name's Nena and I'm a life coach that specializes in personal development. Here at this channel we talk all about our emotional well-being, understanding our own psychology, and leading our best life possible. So if you aren't already a subscriber, please take a moment and become one. We definitely want you to stay connected. So if you're anything like me, once you get to the point of overwhelm, you just feel like you can't move forward in life anymore. You just want to kind of hit the pause button or hide under the covers because there's just too much to do, there's too much stress, and there's just way too much going on. But actually realizing that we are overwhelmed is invaluable information, because when we notice it and we take it seriously, we can actually do something about it. It is when we don't see the signs or don't take the signs seriously and keep trying to push through when we have nothing left to give, that negative situations that could have potentially been prevented can take place, like quitting a job or ending a relationship or missing a very important event. And this is because if we fail to take action and to take care of ourselves and to meet our own needs, our body is going to try to take over and do that for us. And we may not be happy with that end result because we could act very irrationally or out of character. We may not even be able to take care of all the things in our life that we really do need to take care of. So this is why we need to take this very seriously when we start to get to this point. So as difficult as it may seem right now, be happy with yourself that you did see the signs, because that means we can start to take corrective action, which can reduce the stress and start to reduce the anxiety and the suffering that you are experiencing. And we're going to talk about exactly how we can do that today. We will first talk about what to do when we have already got into the place of overwhelm, and then we'll talk about what we can do to try to prevent overwhelm from happening ever again. So once we realize that we are overwhelmed, the very first part of this process is that we need to step away. We need a moment to center ourselves, to calm ourselves, to remove ourselves temporarily from the situation. And I realize that you may be in a situation that has a deadline, or you have something pressing that needs your full attention right now. But realistically, we're not going to be able to move forward when we do feel overwhelmed. So we need to kind of back away for a moment and try to firstly get rid of some of the physical signs that we're probably experiencing, such as racing thoughts, racing heartbeat. Maybe we're getting sweaty or anxious. Maybe even our stomach is getting upset, or we are getting dizzy because it is too much. So that is a clear indication that we need to step away, even if it's just for 10 or 15 minutes. So during that time, you just want to go ahead and turn off the phone. You want to do something that is self-soothing. So that could be anything. It could be deep breathing exercises, it could be yoga, it could be meditating, it could be taking a bath, it could be going for a walk, but we need to really just do something that is calming and relaxing and really just puts us in a new frame of mind. The second thing that we need to do is to go ahead and write it all out. Absolutely anything that is distracting you, that is bothering you, that is somewhere in the back of your mind, because most likely there is so much mental clutter going on that we cannot focus on anything. When we have 1,000 things to think about, we can't really think about any of them. And that can lead to a whole lot of stress and anxiety, because it just makes us feel like there is so much that is going on at one time. The third thing that we need to do is to take a good hard look at this list and figure out for ourselves what things could potentially be removed. Because if we are feeling overwhelmed, we are being pulled in too many directions. There is no way we can handle all of these things. We cannot have all this mental clutter going on. So we need to figure out what we can take off of our plate. What are things that we can't control? These are things that we got to cross off the list. What are things that aren't really our responsibility to begin with? Those are other things that we need to take off the list. What are things that we could delegate to other people? What are things that we're not really that passionate about anymore, or that we were kind of guilted into doing in the first place? We need to understand that we only have so much emotional energy, and if we have unnecessary things on our list, that is not going to provide us with enough time to take care of the things that really do matter. The fourth part of the process is when we're going to start to feel a lot better. We're going to figure out what the tasks actually are that we're going to choose to focus on, because again, we can't focus on everything, so we're going to narrow it down. We're going to come up with some priorities, and then we're going to boil it down to actionable steps. And I know a lot of the things that were really causing a lot of mental clutter were things that weren't really tasks. They were probably worries and concerns that we had. So we want to look at these worries and concerns and see within them if there are any actionable steps there that we could take that could actually make us feel better as well. And if so, we want to add those to the to-do list as well. So our focus here is really deciding how we're going to move forward. Whenever we feel like we're making some kind of progress, we instantly feel better. So that's what we want to work towards as quickly as possible. And we want to really decide what is the most worthy of our emotional energy. And sometimes it's very, very obvious. Sometimes it's big pressing issues in your life. And other times we need to make some pretty difficult decisions, but those decisions do need to be made because again, we can't deal with everything. So we need to decide what things we're going to focus on so we can start taking steps forward. You will be amazed at how much relief you can experience when you do start to take steps forward, because when we are in that state of overwhelm, we just feel trapped. We feel like we have no idea which way to proceed. It just seems like so much. But once we start to kind of break it down into bite-sized pieces and we realize that we can just take small steps, it starts to feel a lot less overwhelming. So we just want to break everything down to those actionable steps so that we can again start to reduce that stress, reduce that suffering, and actually start to make progress. The fifth thing can be challenging for a lot of people, especially if you feel that you're an independent person, but it's so important, and that is to seek out help from friends and family. We all need support sometimes. It is absolutely okay to need a helping hand, and it could be in terms of just having someone have a sympathetic ear and to listen to our situation so that we can express ourselves, or it could be in terms of, asking them to help us out with some tasks or to take on some tasks themselves for us, and then at a future date, we can return the favor. This is something that doesn't have to be one-sided, but definitely when we need help, we need to go ahead and ask for it. And the sixth thing that we need to do is to make sure that we are practicing extreme self-care during this time. I know a lot of times when we are feeling so overwhelmed, we end up putting our own needs on the back burner, which is actually going to start to aggravate the problem. So we do need to make sure that we are truly taking care of ourselves. And we really need to start with the basics. We need to make sure that we are sleeping enough, that we are eating well, that we are exercising and getting fresh air every single day, that we are making sure, even if we do have time constraints, that we have some degree of balance in our life so that we are doing things that we are enjoying and things that are restorative. We need to remember that we are the only ones that truly have the responsibility to take care of ourselves. And so if we are not doing it, probably it's not going to happen. So we do need to make sure that all these basic needs are being met, and that we are also making sure that our mental health remains a priority. So we are keeping in touch with our emotional well-being during this time. So once we've gotten through this particular period of overwhelm, we still need to think about the future. Let's look at 10 actionable strategies for preventing overwhelm from happening in the future. The first thing that we need to do is to look at our life and see how realistic it is. And I can tell you firsthand, for years and years and years, probably close to 20 years, I lived a life that was completely unrealistic. I had so many things in it that I did not even have time to sleep. It was a very enjoyable life, but it was definitely something I could not sustain in the long run. And I think that is true for many, many people. So we need to take a good, hard look at our life and see what things could potentially be removed. We cannot do everything. I know we feel like we can, but in the long run, it really starts to affect both our mental and physical health. So take a look at your life and see if all the things in it really do add value still, if all the things are necessary, and if there is any fluff, you want to start to take steps to remove that. The second thing that we need to do is to learn to say no to things that truly aren't our responsibility. And I know we want to be kind and helpful people and we want to do everything for everyone. Believe me, I understand that. But in the end, again, we only have so much time. So we do need to put our own priorities first. If we are making other people's needs more important than our own, then the things that matter to us never really get accomplished. The third thing that we need to do is to make sure we are taking breaks throughout our day and throughout our lifetime. So that means we want to, during our workday, of course, take 5-10 minutes here and there, just give ourselves time to calm down and breathe and to collect our thoughts, but to also take big breaks like vacations or any time we can kind of sneak away to ourselves. We have to remember that life is not about just crossing things off a to-do list and constantly fulfilling obligations. Life is meant to be enjoyed, and when we're not enjoying life, of course we're going to start to get overwhelmed because we're taking everything fun and good out of life and we're just making it all about responsibilities. That cannot be our full life. It can be part of our life and it is part of our human experience, but we do need to take breaks, we need to take time out for ourselves, and we need to make sure that that remains a priority. The fourth thing that we need to do is the same as the other list, which is making sure that we are staying on top of our self-care. This is something that always, always, always needs to be a central focus in our life. Of course, we need to make sure that we are sleeping enough, that we are eating well, and we are exercising. And certainly, we need to make sure that we are using relaxation techniques, that we are getting outside, that we are keeping our life in balance, and we are making sure that our mental health remains a priority as well. The fifth thing that we can do is to journal our feelings. I cannot tell you how effective this actually is. Again, we always need to express ourselves and feel like our feelings are being acknowledged and validated, and a lot of times we don't even realize what we are feeling until we see it written on the page. So this is a wonderful tool for self-expression and something that I personally do and have done for years that has been very helpful and very healing, and certainly can let us know when we're kind of getting to that point of overwhelm. The sixth thing that we can do is to make sure that we always have a realistic to-do list. I think it's important that we always do have a to-do list, but we want to make sure that it is realistic. I know that it is a habit, at least of mine, to do this kind of brainstorming and then add all these things that are really the things that I wish could happen on the actual to-do list. We need to be realistic and make sure that we are really weeding out the things that we know we don't really have time for, or things that need to be a priority for another time. Our to-do list should simply have our priorities for right now, and we always need to look at them with a critical eye, make sure we're not letting things sneak in that really don't need to be there. The seventh thing that we can do is to make sure we are practicing mindfulness, because when we stay in the here and now, it can really reduce so much suffering. If we are constantly ruminating over the past and worrying about things we can no longer control or influence in any way, it just wastes a ton of mental energy. Same thing goes for thinking about the future all the time and worrying what is going to happen. We really have no crystal ball and no way of knowing what really is going to happen. And what happens a lot of times is we just catastrophize and worry and really think of these terrifying stories that again add a lot of suffering and mental clutter. So if we can stay rooted in this present moment, we're going to experience a lot less overwhelm because we're going to think about the things that we can actually control in this moment. Number 8 is something that we talked about on the other list, but we'll talk about it here as well, and that is to delegate anything that could possibly be delegated to anyone else. When we feel like there are too many things on our list, we want to start to see if there is any help available. Now, I don't mean we want to make a habit of dumping off our problems onto other people or making things that are really our responsibility, someone else's responsibility all the time. Not that at all. I'm talking about every once in a while when there is too much on our plate, reaching out to friends and family that genuinely care about us, that would probably be delighted by the opportunity to be able to help out, because that is something that friends and family members enjoy doing for one another. And always they know that we would do that for them, and certainly we will do that for them in the future. Number 9 is a new realization for me, and that is to make sure that we have a clean space to work and to live in. I can't tell you how much impact this makes in in our life. When we have all this physical clutter, it really truly does add to mental clutter. It just feels like chaos. When we have chaos all around us, of course we're going to feel overwhelmed because there's just so much going on, even visually. We can help ourselves out by cleaning the space up so we have that nice, clean, restful place that we can actually focus in. And number 10 is making sure that we keep relaxation a priority. It is not a luxury, it is absolutely a necessity. And I know for so many of us, we feel so guilty when we spend time or even money on ourselves. We always feel that we need to make everybody else a priority, but really we do need to be the priority because we need to be able to take care of ourselves if we are expected to take care of other people. So we want to make sure that we are taking the time every single day, yes, every single day, to do something that allows us to recharge. And that could be totally different from person to person. It could be reading, it could be going on a bike ride, it could be painting, it could be playing a musical instrument. Whatever it is for you, you need to spend that time on yourself on a daily basis, because of course we're going to be overwhelmed if we keep going and keep going and keep going without taking any breaks. We have to stop every once in a while. We have to focus inward, and we need to calm ourselves and help ourselves relax and de-stress. Let's face it, this world is incredibly stressful a lot of times. There are things coming at us from everywhere. It is a lot to handle for any person, and there's a lot of very unusual things that are happening in the world right now. So it just means that we need to take that much more time for ourselves and make sure that we are, again, meeting our own needs and making sure that we truly, truly relax every single day. So remember, it is completely normal and natural to feel overwhelmed sometimes. We just don't want to live this way constantly. So I really invite you to look at your life and to see if that is the case for you, because that is the case for so many people. They constantly feel overwhelmed. They have way too many things going on in their life. And a lot of times it comes down to making some tough decisions. But believe me, in the end, making those tough decisions will serve you, because you will carve out time for yourself and for all the things in your life that really do matter. So I truly hope this video was helpful to you today, and if it was, please like it, share it with someone else who may need to hear this same message today. Also, again, do become a subscriber if you aren't one already. We definitely want you to stay connected, and I thank you so much for spending time with me today. Have an absolutely amazing day.